Welcome back to Odd Socks. I haven't actually been down here much over the last few days, but I thought I'd pop down this morning and try and catch up with some of the jobs I'm actually a little bit behind on. It's a really nice sunny morning. It's still quite early and things are doing reasonably well. It's been warm days but quite cool on the nights, and the early growth has actually struggled, but we're getting there. Now you've got to remember, in gardening, it's not a race. And again, one of the reasons why we sow so early with a lot of varieties is to get it out of the way so we've got more space to grow different seeds. I have many different jobs I've got to get done today. I've had large deliveries of grass, hedge clippings, things like that. So the compost bin needs to be done. I've also got to do watering. Now, we haven't had rain for a long time after having a deluge of so much other rain. Now, the vast majority of stuff down here is absolutely fine. And my Cape gooseberries are doing actually much better now I've got them into much larger pots and into the ground. My gherkins have settled in really nicely as well, and they really are starting to grow. And I think they'll actually be fine. They've gone past the stage of major slug damage now. I'm kind of hoping now that they'll keep on growing without being decimated by something. And we have this squash bed too. The nighttime temperatures have just been so low, but all those lettuces that were eaten, we left the roots in and they've all regrown. And the beer traps seem to be reducing the amount of slug damage, which is really good to see. Red drums and red calibos, they're almost ready to go into the ground. A little bit longer. There's more of a chance of a success rate if you put them in a little bit bigger. Florence fennel, again, that's done quite well. A little bit worried at first, but it seems to be picking up. Mammoth red rocks, which I've only got a few. I think I might have to sow some more of those. My two tiny chamomile plants, out of all those seeds, that's what I got. Purple sprouting broccoli. Now, with the purple sprouting broccoli, we've actually got a bed ready for them to go into, and we've covered it with black plastic, and we're going to plant through the plastic this year for the purple sprouting. We have fed the soil, we've put some manure on, so hopefully that will be enough feed for it for this year. But we brought the seedlings out from the greenhouse. It was just too hot, and if I couldn't get down for a day, it was all drying out far too quick. So we've actually just erected an old pasting table for now. And the plants, once they get past a certain stage, they're coming out here and they're thriving. So I'd much rather do it this way than run the risk of not being able to get down here and water the plants in the greenhouse, which will wilt so quickly. My poor kaleets, this is exactly what happened. I left them in the greenhouse and they kind of got shoved to the back. And because I'm so short, I didn't see them on the top shelf properly. And they really dried out. But they've been moved outside and they have really picked up. The garlic will be harvested within the next 4 weeks. That will pretty much leave me 2 beds. Now at the moment I actually haven't got much growing in this little greenhouse, but I am going to sow some seeds. Coriander's doing okay, and the Swedes are still coming on quite strong, so that's always good to see. I have turnips. Again, they'll be going out soon. My sage that was donated to me from another allotment holder who grew some seed, and she allowed me to prick out some plants. Okay, the fruit bushes are all doing well, but the 2 older varieties that was here before, so that one and that one, they were badly cut back last year by the previous owner, and there's very little berries actually producing on that because they like to produce on their older stems, I do believe. The newer plants that we got for free are actually doing okay. Now, it's not going to be a bumper harvest. As you can see, it is starting to develop fruit. Now, we didn't know which variety this one is, and until it fully colours up, I don't think it's the blackcurrant. Broad beans. Now, with these broad beans, I have been spraying with a soap and garlic mix, and it hasn't been working. Now, we have pinched the tops out of the broad bean plants to reduce the aphids, but garlic water, it certainly doesn't work. Now I'm going to try adding a little tiny bit more soap to it, because I understand the chemistry, the reaction, how it works and how it smothers the aphids. But garlic, does it prevent it? No, it doesn't. Well, I've not found it to deter aphids. These peas are so beautiful, and I didn't realise until I was down here the other day and I brushed past one of the pea plants how many peas are actually on here. Now, these are the more established peas that we planted several months ago now, and it's become really laden with pea pods. Now, I may have let my coriander go to seed. No, it's starting to bolt, and it will start producing seed, but to be honest, I'm happy to have coriander seed. Now, we are going to plant a load more, so I'm not too worried, and that's going to be my job for the next couple of days, is catching up with some seed sowing, some successional seed sowing mainly. All the leeks we've actually dotted around different places, and they are multi-sown. And this is the first time we've actually done leeks multi-sown, but I've seen it done loads of times and very successfully too. Parsley's all doing well. It's been lovely and fresh. It's been lovely to have the fresh parsley. Jerusalem artichokes are really starting to reach up, and I'm quite excited to dig those up at the end of the year. It's not everyone's cup of tea, so to speak, but I actually really quite enjoy artichokes within moderation. The corn that's sharing the bed with the Jerusalem artichokes is actually looking really good and thick. Now, what you'll find with your corn a lot of the times is before it starts growing upwards, it actually gets a little bit thicker first before it shoots up. The strawberry bed is just producing so many flowers. It's so beautiful, and the time is stunning this time of year. I'll just let it go to flower. The lettuces look really healthy in this bed too. A bit slower to grow, but it's cooler. It's a lot more shade in this bed, which is brilliant for lettuces and things like that. Not perfect for the strawberries, but the actual growth of the strawberries in this bed is actually been really good and strong. But I think maybe next year, maybe, depending on how this lot ripens, I may change a bed to a much more sunnier, warmer spot. The onions keep getting attacked by foxes. They're really loving the onion bed this year, and we've lost a few. But in general, it's okay. It's not too bad. And the multi-sown onions have actually started to push against each other as they're growing. It doesn't restrict necessarily, and it just pushes aside instead of overly restricting your onions. Now, if you're trying to grow massive onions, multi-sown's probably not the way. But if you want quality and quantity of about medium-sized onions, multi-sown is a great way of doing it. It's a massive space saver. The beetroot leaves are looking so healthy, as well as the rest of the lettuces. Now, at the beginning, we did lose quite a bit to slugs, snails, that kind of pests. But after being almost decimated, they've grown back even stronger and more lush as well. Now, the spinach leaves, I need to pick most of this. I'll take it home and process it, and I might make a nice spinach meal of some sort. I think actually that's what I might do this afternoon. Now, we don't pick all this in one go. We actually just take the outer leaves or the better leaves and leave it in the ground. But come another couple of weeks, this spinach has a high chance of bolting, so I want to get the most out of it while I can. Now, we did our tomatoes 3 different ways. One in the polytunnel, one outside in pots and grow bags, and one directly into one of our beds. Now, sad to say, the one that's gone straight into the beds has really, really struggled. Now, we've replaced about 4 plants several times. Unfortunately, we've replaced them with ones that the labours were all mixed up. So we don't know what we replaced them with. but we've had multiple ones that have really struggled in this particular area. Now it is sheltered and there is plenty of moisture, but maybe a bit too much moisture in this bed itself. Now we don't water this bed too much because you literally put your finger in a certain amount and you can actually feel how moist that soil is. It's not dry. Now there's several that's grown really, really strong. So it could just be the variety that we planted out here. Now I think sometimes when you're planting into grow bags and pots, because it's been such a cool spring and the nighttime temperatures really have been dipping, I think the sun actually warms the pots and the grow bags really quickly, and this provides this extra bit of warmth which I don't think you have in a normal bed unless you're planting through plastic. Now pakchoi, I'm going to sow some more. I planted in 2 different locations and this particular area was a little bit more shady, well, a little bit more cooler, not so much direct sun for some of the day, and it's still bolted. Now it could be the variety that I'm using, and I'll have to go back through my notes if I can find them about what variety I grew the year before, because that didn't bolt so easy. But I've left it because 1, the flowers are tasty, so is the leaves and the stems, and the flowers attract so many great pollinators, so I'll let them have some for a bit. Now greenhouse, I can come in here because it's not too hot at the moment. The difference in growth in this greenhouse is pretty stark. So in here you can see we've got chilli plants and tomatoes and basil with marigolds too. Now the marigolds, the African variety, have just got massive, and I actually really like them, but they're taking up a little bit more room than we were hoping. But some of the tomato plants are starting to flower now, and there's even 1 or 2 with fruit, which is a little bit early, and to be honest I'd rather them fruit a little bit later because some of them are quite small. Now the chilli plants, normally if the temperature is below 10 degrees, the chilli plant will stall. But, and considering most of the time the nighttime temperatures really are literally 3s and 5s at the moment, still that cold, and it's literally beginning of June. They've done really, really well. I didn't think we'd have actually hardly any growth on these chilli plants. They've actually grown a lot more than expected, which is nice because I do like my chili peppers and I want to preserve a load to use throughout the rest of the year. So I'm really hoping for a bumper crop. If you're enjoying following along our journey, why don't you like and subscribe? Today was just a little update on how things are growing here on our allotment. Liking and subscribing actually helps us to create more videos. And if it's something that you're enjoying the content of, by hitting that subscription button, it will keep you up to date with any new videos that we'll be releasing over the coming weeks.